This video is about theoretical underpinnings to motivation and rewards. To understand performance management, we established earlier in this learning unit, one must understand workplace motivation. What is workplace motivation? It is the process used to allocate energy to maximize satisfaction of needs. Whose energy? Individuals, employees' energy, to maximize the satisfaction of their own needs. Most definitions go along these lines and just roughly associate motivation with the inner force driving individuals to accomplish personal and through those personal ones also organizational goals. It is important to see motivation as an inner force. Indeed, it is intrinsic in nature, but it can be instigated by extrinsic incentives. Indeed, pay for performance is a pretty known concept, and organizations rely on it significantly to get employees to work towards fulfillment of organizational objectives. It can only be internal to employees because the sticks and carrots only make sense if they are internalized. In other words, if the employees believe in them and believe that they can achieve those rewards and that those rewards have value to them. Now, these ideas are underpinned by a number of theoretical frameworks which can be categorized into content and process theories of motivation. Theories of motivation basically show what rewards people want for content theories and how these rewards enhance motivation for process theories. The former identify people's needs and how they seek to achieve them under the assumption that an unsatisfied need leads to attention, which creates that force that we call motivation. Process theories identify what initiates behavior and, more importantly, how this behavior, this motivated behavior in the workplace is directed and sustained. Process theories take account of individual needs, a bit like content theories, but also they pay attention to the perception of individuals' ability to perform as expected and their expectation regarding the outcomes of such performance. The slight, or maybe not so slight, downside of process theories is the assumption that people are aware of their goals and their actions. A downside of both types of motivation theories is that they assume that most of the world behaves and needs what people in Western cultures do. More about that towards the end of this video. Let's start with content theories of motivation. A very well-known one, but very contested by the academic community as not being thorough and scholarly enough, is the well-known Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It is only natural to start with it because it's the one that most of us have known for many, many years, perhaps well before university studies. It is also the oldest, as far as I'm aware, the oldest, but if not the oldest, definitely amongst the oldest theories of motivation. In his psychological review paper, Abraham Maslow conceived his 5 need levels that people need to fulfill to feel motivated in the workplace. At the bottom are physiological needs, such as air, water, food, shelter, etc. Safety needs come next, such as personal security, employment, health, property. Then come social needs, love, belonging, friendship, intimacy, and so on. Self-esteem based on recognition, status, perhaps autonomy. And at the very top of the hierarchy, self-actualization, The desire to become the most one can be is what underpins self-actualization. Now, the second well-known theory of motivation, content theory of motivation, is Herzberg's hygiene and motivator factors. Hygiene factors are related to the context of the job, such as supervision, relationships at work, status, salary, etc., leading to job dissatisfaction if these factors are insufficient or poorly managed. Motivating factors are essentially intrinsic and they are related to the job itself, such as the joy involved in fulfilling that line of work, and the personal growth, intellectual growth, achievement, advancement, all these leading to positive work attitudes. A key argument of Herzberg's is that extrinsic factors and by extension extrinsic rewards are essential to motivation. They don't fire that inner force of employees at work because that is intrinsic in nature. But without them, without these hygiene factors, people are essentially demotivated, dissatisfied with their work. So this is quite important because most other theories look at extrinsic factors as something that could add to the force, add to the motivation. And Herzberg disagrees, doesn't add to motivation, it simply ensures that employees are not demotivated. The third content theory that I wanted to tell you about is McClelland's typology of needs. This motivation theory states that every person has one of three main driving motivators: the need for achievement, the need for affiliation, and the need for power. We are going to revisit this particular typology later in the video, so I'll leave it at this for now. The fourth and final content theory I wanted to tell you about today is also the most recent of them all. In 2000, Ryan and Deci explained how extrinsic motivators are internalized and how they contribute to intrinsic motivation. So you see again this idea that motivation is internal in nature. No one can make somebody do something unless that somebody internalizes the reason why this might be beneficial. Ryan and Deci underlined three basic needs: a psychological need for autonomy, a need for competence, and need for relatedness. Now, if you look at McClelland's typology, you'll see that the need for affiliation is similar to Ryan and Deci's need for relatedness. The need for achievement is somewhat similar to Ryan and Deci's need for competence. And finally, the need for power, in McClelland's words, is not too dissimilar to the need for autonomy. But there are some differences between them. So this newer theory is definitely new. It's not a simple reworking of a 1960s theory. And not only is it new, but it's getting even newer because new research revealed potentially a separate need that becomes an underlying factor for motivation, and that's the need for beneficence. This fourth need was introduced by Martella and Ryan in 2016 and 2018, and it refers to the sense of having a positive pro-social impact, so a sense of being useful to society and the world. Process theories of motivation show how rewards contribute to motivation. So if content theories answered a what question, process theories refer to how. I'm proposing you 4 theories for this category as well. They are not the only 4 theories, and there are some similarities between them, but only partial. I am offering you more than one in each category to allow you to choose the one that makes sense to you the most. It helps intellectual curiosity if we actually enjoy what we study. A very well-known theory which many students choose to talk about in their assignments for this course is Adams' equity theory. Essentially, it argues that employees are motivated to maintain fairness between the inputs they bring to the job and the outcomes they receive from it. And here you would be possibly drawing some links with the psychological contract, and rightfully so. The implication for reward distribution here is that equity does not always mean equality, and therefore offering the same rewards to all employees may actually lead to lack of equity. The second one is expectancy theory, Vroom's 1964's expectancy theory. This one is a rather sophisticated theory that I personally really like. It argues that employees' motivation is underpinned by the belief that their behavior will enhance the probability of desired outcomes. I have highlighted in bold those two words, probability and desired, because essentially this theory relies on two types of perceptions. How valuable rewards are, and Vroom calls that reward value, so how desired they are, and how probable, in other words, how sure am I that by doing what the organization claims to be desirable behavior, I will get the rewards that I am promised. Now, at face value, this goes without saying, but the application of this theory to performance management issues, such as the difficulty to measure performance for some jobs, types of jobs. So think, for example, artists, or think high-tech industries. How likely is it that the manager always knows how good somebody's performance is? How easy is it to measure? And if the manager finds it difficult to measure people's performance, is it fair to say that employees then find the achievement of those rewards improbable? And it probably is. Two other process theories of motivation are Locke's goal-setting theory and Hackman and Oldham's job characteristics theory. Locke argues that employees will be motivated more strongly by performance targets that are specific, agreed, and attainable, though challenging. I'm sure all of you can think of times when you were demotivated by targets that were totally unattainable. And did you go for them? Probably not. Or probably you made it look like you did, but didn't really try, didn't really apply that kind of inner force that motivation is supposed to be. Hackman and Oldham's job characteristics theory is predicated on job enrichment and the assumption that increasing autonomy, feedback, skill variety, task significance, and task identity leads to more motivated employees. There is some merit to this theory as well. There is merit to all of them. Now, let's consider cultural differences for a minute. And let's do so in relation to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow has been criticized for reflecting in his hierarchy of needs low uncertainty avoidance cultures and high masculinity cultural values. Indeed, the order of needs is found to be different across cultures, according to Adler. For example, the need for belonging can be higher than self-actualization in low masculinity countries, in Hofstede's cultural terms. Equally, self-actualization values differ significantly across cultures as well. So, as you can imagine, reaching a top management position counts as self-actualization in individualistic societies, but not in collectivistic ones, where serving the community may be more fulfilling and more an indication of personal growth. So once again, we see cultural characteristics mediating the relationship between motivating factors over here. So essentially rewards, right? Power, authority, autonomy, awards, good interpersonal relations, all these are motivators, incentives, rewards. So cultural characteristics mediate the relationship between these and where in the hierarchy these needs find themselves. Therefore, how motivating they are to employees. Culture also plays a role in McClelland's typology of needs, where, for example, achievement needs are more relevant for highly individualist or high masculinity cultures. Now it will be quite interesting to see how you think affiliation needs and power needs also differ across cultures. I'm going to leave you with this thought and invite you to contribute to the forum.